Hello everybody, it's AJ the Mighty Glue Stick. How's it going? Welcome to another Monsterology video. And today I'm going to be covering one of the Outer Realms. This is one of the Planes of Existence series, so it's kind of like a Monsterology. And you have asked, dear viewer, for Carceri. And so I've spent a couple of days of researching this wonderful plane of existence. So I've condensed it down to what I think are the relevant points for a visit to Carceri. So here we go. I'm also doing a different style here because I've actually pre-written a script. DMG is a great believer in scripts. So here we go. Carceri, the prison plane of the multiverse. If your characters enter this place, you'd better already have a way back out for them, and you must guard that very, very well. For every inhabitant of this damned place will do their very best at being their very worst to get that way out of the plane, out of your characters. Carceri, also known as the Tarterian Depths of Carceri, also Tarterus, or the Red Prison, is a black and infinite void. Within the void float red glowing worlds. There are no stars, no sun, so it's always a red and brooding twilight. These worlds stretch off into the void in a seemingly endless line, with the worlds the characters are standing on being just one of a possible infinite number. Each of these worlds is a close duplicate of each other world, and perhaps each of them is a bridge to another alternate prime material plane, another cosmology. Who can say? Weirdly, Carceri has 6 layers contained inside each other, not unlike the shells of a Russian doll, but each layer consists of a series of orbs floating in an infinite black void. One may view the plane as layers of an onion, where each layer is a near duplicate of the one inside the other, or under, or outside, or over itself. And the other orbs in the sky of each layer are again duplicates beside each other, an infinite reflection in all directions. There is nowhere to run in the prison plane. While it is possible to leave the surface of an orb and fly through the gravitationless void between them, it may be that one simply falls to the next layer of the same orb, or the same layer of a different orb in another realm, such as travelling from Agathys and the dark sun setting to the world of Greyhawk, for instance. Travelling deep underground on a layer may have the characters emerge on the surface of the next layer down or up, or perhaps keep descending forever into the darkness. This plane does not conform to the usual rules of spatial relationships of the prime material plane. So while you are walking around on an orb like a planet, that's where the similarity kind of ends. That being said, each of the orbs is a planet. They all have names given them by the inhabitants, and each is crowded with the damned. So bear in mind when I talk about the different layers that each of these is actually crowded with people and things. Although they hate each other immensely. So you're like walking through a very closed neighborhood with there's barricades, bastions, and everybody's got their staked out claims. The exiled, the shunned, the defeated are sent here, as are the traitors, backstabbers, and the souls of those with underhanded ambition. It is the prison plane, pure and simple. Carceri's residents are thus a mixed bag, racially and culturally. Most continually plot and scheme to leave Carceri and find their way back to their homes and former positions. Besides prisoners and petitioners, the petitioners, of course, don't remember where they came from or have any inclination to leave Carceri. Carceri's hosts are fiends that partake in the endless blood war. Demons, devils, Yugoloths all roam Carceri, as do madly galloping nightmares and other outsiders. It's a neutral, chaotic-leaning, evil-aligned plane of existence. It's one of the number of alignment-based outer planes that form part of the standard Dungeons & Dragons D&D cosmology used in Planescape, Greyhawk, and some edition of Forgotten Realms campaign settings. It borders the concordant plane of the Outlands, and if you are a player of the old Planescape Torment game, you could enter a world which actually fell, a city which fell into Carceri, so you can visit it that way. It also borders the Abyss and Hades, and portals to many planes allow travel into Carceri, but almost none allow access to from the other direction. So you can get in, but you can't get out. It's basically, this is the plane of the Hotel California. One exception is the river Styx, which runs through the first layer of Carceri, mixing with the bogs and channels that crisscross the orbs of this layer, on its way to the abyss, from the abyss and to the grey wastes of Hades. The 6 layers of Carceri are Othrys, which is the first layer. Othrys consists of a war-ravaged landscape of swamps and stagnant rivers crisscrossed by spotted ranges of mountains. Several of the old Titans live on Othrys in the realm of Mount Othrys, because it's actually named after the original Mount Othrys in Greece. Furthermore, Raiden maintains his palace of thunder on Othrys, if you include Raiden as a god in your campaign. Cathrus, the second layer, also called the Crimson Jungle, is a layer of thick jungles and open plains of razed grass. Talona's realm, the Palace of Poison Tears, can be found on Cathrus, as well can the Steading, a realm of the hill giant Grolanthor. Grolanthor is, he's a hill giant. Hill giants are no doubt abundant here and are probably very hungry, but you should be able to smell them coming. Menethus, the third layer. Menethus is a parched layer of crimson glowing sand and biting desiccated sandstorms. Notable locations of Menethus include Koios' temple, dedicated to the titan of the same name, the mausoleum of pain of the dragon god Falazur, yes, the same one mentioned in one of the D&D movies, Carontor's rack of injustice, the trickster's delight, the realm of the Naga deity Parafair. There are numerous crypt pyramids, protected vaults, and long-forgotten prisons here, left over from times when powerful forces needed a place to hide away or trap artifacts or foes that were otherwise too difficult to control or impossible to destroy. So, where they considered even the deep Underdark to be an unsecure location. So there is no telling what horrors and abominations lurk in hidden passages buried beneath the ever-shifting blood sand of Menethus. Next is Colothus, the fourth layer. Colothus consists of jagged, unforgiving mountains and sudden chasms with little flat ground to find refuge. Kreos' temple, dedicated to the Titan of the same name, can be found here. As you'll notice, there's lots of Titans that reside in Carceri because they were vanquished by others and banished here. Ilanaeth, the realm of the drow deity Veurun, the land of the hunt, realm of the god Malar, are located on Colothus. Next we have the fifth layer, Porpathus. Porpathus is a cold layer dominated by a shallow acidic ocean, cut only by sandbars and drifts of semi-solid acrid snow. Oceanus' temple, dedicated to the Titan of the same, is located here. And yeah, that's it for the more accessible. Most petitioners on Carceri are souls who abused, trust, and betrayed friends or family. Like all petitioners, they have no memory of their past lives, but remain treacherous. They lie constantly, compulsively, and with great cunning. They enjoy it. Petitioners on Carceri reside on one of the 5 layers according to their particular treachery. So, the first layer, Othrys, holds politicians and national traitors. The next layer, Cathrus, holds those who gave in to animal lusts where logic and reason would have served better. So they reside in the jungle there. Menethus, the desert, imprisons hoarders and those who would have helped others with their wealth but didn't. So people who are like investors who stole their money from other people, and they wander constantly the blood desert, parched for water and food. Colothus confines liars whose untruths harmed others, and finally, Porpathus is home to the shallow and self-absorbed who refused to aid others when the opportunity presented itself. So now they wander the shallow, acrid desert, acid ocean. The last layer, Agathys, consists of a single massive orb of black ice alone in the void, almost completely devoid of light and sound, with only the shifting and breaking of ice and the slow crushing agony of petitioners frozen in the ice ever being heard. Apomps, the three-sided palace, realm of the Deodand, Gerelith, Lord Apomps, can be found on Agathys. Also, the god Nerull from the world of Greyhawk setting makes his home in Agathys. According to On Hallowed Ground, his realm is called the Crypt, and it is a city inhabited by the dead and undead. There, Nerull consorts with fiends of all kinds who wander the realm, devouring the shrieking souls trapped under Nerull's power. He is, after all, the Reaper. According to 3rd edition Manual of the Planes, his realm is Necromantion, described as a citadel carved from black ice where the souls of the dead are trapped within its walls, ceilings, and floors. Demonic clerics perform twisted experiments and recite ghastly litanies. Nerull's throne is within a wide hall called the Hidden Temple, and even more unspeakable horrors are said to be buried in tunnels beneath. This is unspeakable acts of barbaric necromancy designed to create new forms of undead. Nerull, of course, is the enemy of life and is basically contracted to kill. That's what he does. That's all he does. Unlike most inhabitants of the Red Prison, Nerull wasn't banished to Carceri. He lives there because he likes it. In 4th edition, Nerull originally lived in the realm of Pluton in the Astral Sea. After his death by the Raven Queen, it was abandoned, and there are still a few hungry souls left on the plane, which the funeral wealth of thousands of dead monarchs deep within the mausoleums. No more dead souls arrive there, and no god has taken up the rule of the plane, since any attempt to interfere with the grey race of Pluton is likely to anger the Raven Queen. Anyway, yeah, so Nerull was killed by the Raven Queen in 4th edition, but you may choose to ignore that and have Nerull alive and well, or undead and well. He takes the form of a green, ropey-haired, rust-coloured or blood-coloured skeleton in robes that carries a staff that can erupt with a crimson blade, scythe blade, at his will. So basically, he's the Grim Reaper. He's the Grim Reaper. Anyway, there are a huge variety of creatures that inhabit Carceri, but one unique group needs special mention, and that's because it's their home plane. And this is named after the Demodand, an evil creature in the Dying Earth series by Jack Vance. The Demodand, or the Gereliths, if you go by their 2nd edition name, worship or honour a patron deity called Apomps, the three-sided one. A renegade Bearnoloth, which was exiled to Carceri for the act of creating them. Now, I don't know if I mentioned the Bearnoloths before, but they're basically precursors of the Yugoloths that are very rarely seen and are really, really, really bad. Really bad. So this one was exiled to Carceri for the act of creating a species of demon types, basically. Each of the races of the Demodands has certain peculiarities. The Ferastu and the Kilubar can undergo a lengthy and painful process of self-liquefaction into the secretion they most frequently exude. These pools of tar and slime can be bottled and stored for centuries as a kind of instant army where they reconstitute themselves instantly to become quite fearsome foes. There's 3 main types of Demodand. They are the Ferastu, the Tari Demodand, the most common type. They're basically the warrior type. The Kilubar, or the slime Demodand, and these are the bureaucrats of Demodand society. And the Shator, or the shaggy Demodand, the disgusting leaders of the Demodands. They're often depicted as mutated, shaggy demon characters. Related to them is the Shrieking Terror. Ooh, the Shrieking Terror. Boy, oh boy. Which is a Demodand created hybrid of a Hydra and a Varguil. Used as a beast of war, and believe me, it is one of the most worst foes you could hope to face, which is worthy of a video on its own. In fact, I'm going to add that to the list. So yeah, what's a basic description of this thing? It's okay. It can paralyze you. It drinks your blood. It regenerates. It's got 10 heads and 10 attacks per round, and it flies. It's horrific. In short. Anyway, there are also creatures which have obtained the power of the Demodand in exchange for trading their souls to Carceri. Well, sort of. Via ancient magical rituals, the creature may gain some of the Demodand's power in exchange for surrendering its soul to Carceri upon death. This is kind of a trick, because although the Demodand is destroyed in the process, it gains freedom from the eternal prison plane and can become incarnate in the inner planes this way, a gamble that many of them would take for their freedom. So, when you're traveling through Carceri, it's kind of up to you as a dungeon master to determine how you travel between those layers of the plane. Simplest, of course, is traveling between portals that go from an outer layer of the plane to an inner layer of the plane. So you may travel from the first layer to the second, and so on. Much like the 9 hells, it may be impossible to skip layers. Once you're on that layer, you can travel. It's basically like you're still standing on the surface of a world looking out into an infinite void with these other orbs floating out in a line going out into space. It's kind of awesome looking in a way. I imagine it would look quite amazing. The only light, of course, being from the red glow that emanates from any solid native Carceri object. So the whole planet glows red. And these other planetoids glow red out into the sky, traveling off into the infinite distance. So when you go somewhere, the feeling is you've never left. You're traveling in circles constantly. You're always going back to the same place, to the same vista, the same view. No matter how far you travel within Carceri, it always feels like you're standing still. You're going back to the same place. It's incredibly demoralizing. That's the whole point. You're in a prison with no walls. You can travel infinitely but never escape. The only way out is some traveler who comes from outside who's got a way out, or some rare portal which is incredibly difficult to get to, and may involve untold torment. And you're probably going to end up captured and imprisoned even further, with your freedom of movement restricted by the other inhabitants there, just out of sheer spite, because it is a plane that is full of people who betray trust, who lie, who steal, who cheat, who are hated by others, so much so that they were damned to this place, taken out of the normal operation of the universe and thrown into the furthest corner where they can never escape. There's no hope for them because nobody wants them. That's Carceri for you in a nutshell. And if you have any further questions on it, please let me know in the comments down below. I'll be traveling on to another location fairly soon, and of course more upcoming monster ecology videos. And also I'm going to be over probably the second half of this year. I'm going to be maybe this is just a thought. Maybe creating another channel where I move away from talking about just monsters and I actually concentrate on the Forgotten Realms itself, and do kind of like an explorer series where I talk about locations just like I have with Carceri here, about the Forgotten Realms, and gradually cover the entire world of Toril, being as it's a very, very rich setting that I think is worthy of it. And so by the end of watching all those videos, you'd have a pretty good understanding of the Forgotten Realms, which is kind of my objective too, since I've played in the Forgotten Realms for many years, but there's a lot of it which I've only briefly touched on, and I haven't really read a lot of the source material, and I'd like to do that myself. So in the kind of one of the good things about this, making this YouTube channel, is that I educate myself on this subject while sharing that information with other people as well. So by the end of it, we're all going to have a better understanding of Dungeons and Dragons' rich settings, the creatures that live there, and we'll all be considered to be some sort of weird experts. Hell, I might even make a certificate you can print out as a PDF. Who knows? Thanks for listening, everybody. I'll be back with another Monster Ecology video soon.